Hi everybody, I'm Martin and I'm developing the survival RPG Knights of Frontier Valley. If you happen to follow me on Twitter, you might have seen that I've been working on creating the city maps for the game over the last few weeks. The maps you can see here were the first drafts. Those were still built in code, meaning I programmed them using code instructions like put a house here, place a tree there. And as you can imagine, that's quite inefficient and tedious. You cannot see how it's going to look like until the code is rebuilt and restarted, which takes extra time for every change you make to the map. So I decided to create a map editor tool that allows me to modify maps in real time. I've been working on this for the last about 2 weeks now, and I wanted to show you how maps for this game are going to be created going forward. But before I get into the details of the map editor, let me give you a little background on the two different types of maps in the game and how they work. The first type of map is the world map, which I call the travel map. It's a view of the world from a little bit further away. It's sort of like a strategic overview map, which is good for getting around quickly. This map is made of hexagon-shaped tiles representing different types of terrain. I'm currently running a developer version of the game here, where I can visualize those hexes. Now, anywhere on the world map, I can switch over to the second kind of map, the local map. And you can see it's empty. I disabled the content for the purpose of this demo. And when I zoom out, I have to zoom out quite a bit. You can see it's also a very large hex. The local map looks like an enormous hex, but it's actually put together from square tiles. You can see the squares when I remove the transition tiles that make the transition between different types of ground look more natural. So now that you know how maps work in the game, let's have a look at the new map editor. When starting the map editor, it comes up with an empty default map, and when I zoom out, then you can see it's that familiar oversized hex shape. So I'm going to start with placing a few ground tiles. So let's pick the ground tiles and maybe start with some pavement. I'm going to disable rendering of the transitions so we can see better where we already placed something. Okay. And now if I enable the transitions, which are random, sometimes you have to just place the tile again to change the randomness. It looks better. This is how it would look like in the game then with transitions enabled. Let's add a few more things. Let's add some dirt here at the bottom. And maybe on one side. And we can also put some forest floor up here. That's just to show what we can do. I'm going to switch over to placing buildings and objects now. There are different categories. So here it starts up with the residential buildings. There's normal houses. There are larger villas, commercial buildings. There's a bunch of market stalls and stores, farming and production, administrative and worship. So these are the City Watch and other military buildings, as well as temple and churches. A few decorative items or buildings, urban objects. There's just going to be more of those. We have trees, bushes, various plants, alchemy ingredients, which are also plants, or large rocks and boulders, other forest objects, and some ground decor. Let's maybe start with placing a tree. I'm gonna pick an oak tree here, and trees are modular, meaning they are randomly assembled from a trunk, a top, and various branches. I can cycle through different random setups here every time I push the middle mouse button, it changes the appearance. I'm gonna put this tree down here. I can select it and move it again later, or delete it. Let's pick a different kind. That's an ash tree. Let's see. Okay. Maybe a bush or two. All right. Can place a few of those boulders. If I hold the shift key, it can place another one of the same object right away. So we can build something like some sort of sacred circle here. Maybe let's put something in the middle. Okay. Now let's place a few buildings. I'm gonna start with a villa. Some of those buildings can be pretty large. That is already one of the larger ones, but by far not the largest. And when I push the middle mouse button, I can change the orientation. So a number of different orientations. Since it's a 2D game, changing the orientation isn't simply a matter of changing the camera perspective as it would be in a 3D game. All of these orientations are completely different assets and different buildings in a sense. Let's put this one here down. And can put a little shack against it. And these are now embedded in the map, so I can already walk around those. The Pathfinder will automatically avoid running into those buildings and objects. Let's add another building. I'm gonna pick a blacksmith. I have no idea why the door is missing. That's some weird bug I need to fix. And while this looks like one building, it's actually composed of different parts. So there's the main building, and then there are different, what I call the front beams, which is also a little roof part here. Those are needed to get the rendering order right. So if I move my character here, and I want to move him, I want to walk through this here, I have to be behind the beams or under the roof, but in front of the building, and to get that rendering order right, it needs to be separate pieces. When I'm happy with the result, I can save that map here. Now it's saved to the internal database, but the map can also be exported into a text file that contains all the tile information, the buildings, the objects, their positions, and the configuration. That feature can be used to share maps across computers. There's still one thing missing for a proper city builder game. If you liked what you saw, please push the like button and share, follow us on Twitter or Facebook, or visit our website. Thanks again for tuning in.